Hello, good day, sir. I'm Justine here. So today now I'm going to present for my poster. So for the poster, I was also using Canva and I chose a template with the arrangement that I wanted to be, and I just changed all the contents and pictures to what I want them to be to fit to my theme here today, which is say no to drugs, stand against drug abuse. So here I arranged the content this way is because I want them to look neat and easier for people to actually read it and understand it clearly on what I'm trying to deliver here on the poster. So on the poster, I chose to include type of drugs, common effect on all drugs, the individuals who are vulnerable to drugs, law in Malaysia, of course, because we're staying in Malaysia, and the death drugs usage rates globally, and also lastly, the drug rehabilitation centers number. So the reason why I include those is because I think these contents are very important information that people should get so that they know what drugs are and be aware of the dangers that drugs will bring it to them. So for example, here, the type of drugs, I included those that are quite common drugs that people will know, or those common drugs that actually drug addicts are using it globally. And for example, like heroin, cocaine, cannabis. So next, it will be common effects of all drugs. So those effects, actually, of course, there are other than this five common effects that people are taking drugs, but just I include this five is because I feel that it's more important to the rest of it, and it's more commonly happen to those who are taking drugs. So for example, mentally they'll feel depressed, anxiety, or they were facing financial issues because of frequently buying those expensive drugs. They will cause a worse relationship with people, and this may lead them to have increased risk in injuring or assaulting people, legal issues because of illegal usage. So definitely they may get fined or even death penalty for some country, sent to prison, and the counter effects, which when they are withdrawing, they may feel insomnia, sleepiness, extreme exhaustion, nausea, and so on. So for individuals who are vulnerable to drugs, of course, there are also people who are vulnerable to drugs other than these five reasons that I put it in the poster, but I think these five are quite commonly happen as well. So for example, people aged around 18 to 24, young adults, especially young men, they're actually more prone to drugs or stress from work, studies, relationships, peer pressure, because maybe out of curiosity, they see that, people around them, friends or family are taking drugs. That's why they want to try it. Or maybe because they didn't want to be left out from their groups of people. That's why they are taking the drugs so that they can fit in the group. Or people who are suffering from mental health problems like ADHD, depression, anxiety disorder, bipolar disorder, and so much more. Or it could also due to genetics being passed out in the family, like maybe the parents that are taking drugs, or maybe some of their relatives are taking drugs as well. So that's why it's being passed out in the family, and now they're taking drugs. So for the Malaysian law, it could definitely cause death penalty. There's no excuse on that, no saying on that, no debate on that. They can get custodial sentence and possible beating as well if, let's say, they're caught buying or taking drugs. So it also depends on the amounts of drugs they are buying or taking when they're caught. So death rate around the world is actually around 11.8 million each year. When people taking drugs, this is the death rate, and it's very, very high. And the usage rate is around 284 million, which it's found out that to the age 15 to 64 people, those drug addicts are actually using the drugs each year. That's million. So it's kind of a lot. So lastly, the drug rehabilitation centers, I also put it there, and I'll explain why I actually put it there. So because other than creating this poster to raise awareness for drugs, I also have the intention in convincing those drug addicts of the consequences that drugs will bring to them and want them to stop taking drugs. So that's why in the end here, I put this rehabilitation centers contacts. Because if they're aware on how dangerous drugs are, or they have the determination to get rid of drugs, but not sure where to get help from, they can actually try to contact one of those centers where they can get the help they need and know that they're never alone on this journey. This because most of the time, a lot of drug addicts, they're too into it and they sort of, enjoy the relief that drugs give them, because when they're on drugs, they can escape from the reality, their harsh life, suffer, struggles, and so on. Like I mentioned it on the poster, which the part where I said about individuals are more vulnerable to drugs. Stress is one of the reasons why people are taking drugs, and another important reason being those who suffer from mental health issues. So if we can see it clearly and think it deeply, we can actually see the common points of both of these reasons, which is these two types of people are struggling and suffering in their life, and they don't know how they can overcome their problems and minimize the sufferings they're having, they're facing. And so when they're on drugs, they feel that drugs can give them the relief they want. They can finally be stress-free, have the freedoms they want, and they don't have to think about their problems, and they don't have to worry on anything. Financial problems, relationships, working, study, all those kind of things. So even though rationally and consciously they know how harmful drugs are, how drugs will destroy their life and health, and there definitely are the better and healthier ways to help them overcome with the difficulties. But they choose to use this way to escape from their reality, and they choose to only see that drugs are the only way, the only thing that can help them to solve the issues they're facing. So sometimes, even though some of the drug addicts, they want to withdraw from drugs, they will give up eventually. Why? Because there are no one around them who is willing to support them, accompany them, and help them go through the difficult journey of withdrawal from drugs, because they're taking on drugs. That's why, everyone around them are leaving them, criticize them and so on. So there's no one there to support them. So that is why rehab centers are here to help them and guide them through every single step. And this will be able to help them realize that they actually have the strength, have their own strength to overcome difficulties in withdrawing of drugs, and they are not alone in this recovery journey. So besides that, rehab centers will also be able to help those drug addicts to withdraw in the right and sustainable ways, and make sure that the risk of the drug addicts to get back on drugs will minimize to the least possible. Because if, let's say, they're withdrawing themselves alone, the risk of them getting back, bounce back to drugs, is quite high. That's why it's good to find rehab centers to actually help them to go through every single step and procedures in withdrawing from drugs. And that is all from me. Thank you.